Hello everyone, so we're back with round 2 of the Lebanese Chess Championships. I'm not going to waste time with too many introductions here. Let's dive right into the game. Joe against Wissam. Again here Wissam, I've picked this game to start off with because it's a relatively short game. It's basically a miniature. Yeah, so again here Wissam makes a tragic mistake out of the opening. And Joe really does not let his foot off of the gas here. He just keeps going and never relinquishes the edge that he got. So we see a Najdorf over here, open Sicilian Najdorf, and now bishop g5. Let me remove these arrows. So here e6 is the main move. There's also knight b d7 as an alternative. The point is you cannot allow white to do this capture, because that would be, there are some lines where you like there's queen b6 that has been tried, but I think that's a poor move, to be honest. Yeah, so you really can't allow bishop takes f6 to occur, because that would really weaken your pawn structure. And here Wissam just goes queen a5, attacking the bishop and kind of inciting white to do this trade, but this is not a very good idea, because after bishop takes f6 he decides to capture with the e pawn. Taking with the g pawn is probably just as bad. Then this bishop will be questionably placed forever, and if you try to move the e pawn, d6 will be weak. So yeah, but this, if you look at the pawn structure, we have doubled pawns over here. This pawn is isolated, weak, and everything bad you can say about it. You can say, yeah, it's just a tragic position already. And let's see how Joe continues. He plays bishop c4, a very normal move, a very smart move, I would say. It's developing the bishop and to a very aggressive diagonal, and he makes use of that later on. So black tries queen g5, and look at black. He's like, he has this bad pawn structure and he has no development, zero development. All he's done is move the queen like this and then here. Yeah, so this is a very misplayed opening by Wissam. So he castles here. Joe just wants to get the rook in the game. That's simple. It seems like a Morphy game, to be honest, this game. Yeah, this is exactly what's occurring over here. And now bishop g4, which is okay, attacking the queen, but just moves out of the way. You'll never have any of these ideas. Like if even bishop h3 here, I just go queen f3 or whatever. There's really nothing to talk about here. So bishop g4, queen d3, knight d7. Okay, maybe you want to go here. Joe does not really care about that because he wants this for Karuni over here. So Wissam prevents that, but now comes f4, blocking knight e5, threatening the queen, and overall just going for aggression. So queen h5. White just brings the last piece into the game, very Morphy-esque. An alternative may have been to insert h3 and then play rook e1. The point is you have g4 ideas at some point, but yeah, that doesn't really make much of a difference. So Wissam tries knight c5, queen e3, just moving out of the way. And again, like you really even can't develop. I guess here I would take and you won't be ever castling. So yeah, and bishop e6 here is played. Again, not going to be very helpful. Joe simply plays bishop e2. We'll see the point of bishop e2 in a moment. It will be made clear. Now I want to say if bishop g4, again going back here, this doesn't really amount to much, because after knight f5 I would dare anyone to find a move for black here. There really is no real move here. You move the bishop, thank you very much. b4 is coming to dislodge this knight, and perhaps even e5 at some point can be played. This queen is almost trapped, you know, after h3 and g4. And yeah, I really can't give any suggestion. Where is this king going? This is such a terrible position. Okay, so queen h6 was tried instead of bishop g4, but still knight f5. The point, of course, if you take here, I just take king d7, and now simply bishop f3. An alternative is of course knight b6 check, whereupon I pick up a clean rook, a clean exchange. Well, but yeah, this is a tragic position. You can't move this bishop. Yeah, this is completely lost. So instead of bishop takes f5, queen g6 was played, but this is also not going to help much. b4, dislodging the knight. There is knight d7, of course, as an alternative to what was played in the game, but here's simply queen a5, very strong move. Queen a7, very strong move. attacking the pawn, and with these threats looming, this will be very easily lost. Of course, this doesn't amount to much, trying to win the piece, because we have this discover check, whereupon we'd win the queen. So the problem is again this king and the impossibility to ever develop that. So not only is the king stuck in the center, but it's going to be stuck for an eternity, for eons. So takes a stride, seemingly winning something, but yeah, this isn't going to really work. Here after bishop b5 checks, so this was a very forced sequence. After bishop b5 check, Wissam resigned. Yeah, so because of course mate is coming, by the way, this is a forced mate in one. So yeah, just a big crush by Mr. Joe. Honestly, the only mistake was queen a5. After that, there are some minor inaccuracies, but to be honest, after queen a5, the game is lost. And Joe did not make a single mistake, I think. So yeah, perfect play by Joe in converting this position. Okay, next up, I guess we'll go to the Modellal game. It was a relatively short affair if you don't consider some things. So here we have a modern defense, and the white goes for a clever setup. He's developing normally, but here I like what he did. a4 preventing b5. That's quite nice, because usually in this variation when you see c6, it's a signal that this kind of queenside expansion will occur. So a4 is smart. a5 to kind of counteract a5 by white himself, and h3 again a very smart move, questioning this bishop. Where are you going to go, Mr. Bishop? You can't go here, you can't go here. Here would be a bad square, here is a stupid square as well because you're blocking this knight, and if you want to fianchetto, you'd be further wasting moves. And combined with a4, usually you could maybe see something like, for example, a6 b5 and bishop b7, but that won't really occur here because we simply have a4 which blocked b5. So yeah, in fact, after these normal developing moves, black was forced to play b6, and I would have preferred bishop b7, but he goes for something more interesting, I guess, with bishop a6. The point is just to trade off these bishops. This is a French type of idea where you have the bad bishop and you trade it off in the French defense. But yeah, I don't really know if it's so accurate in the modern and in this overall structure. Actually, I looked at this position a bit with the engine, and it suggests rook c1, which makes zero sense to me. I'll just show this small variation, but yeah, rook c1 here. Why would you do that? It makes zero sense. I tried to reason with the engine, but yeah, it's rook c1. Okay, man, sure thing. Rook e1 is a more human move. Instead, Tariq here went for bishop takes h6. Not really sure I like that decision. Like, why would you trade yourself? Why not just improve the position minorly with the rook e1? Okay, it's fine. He takes, and now he starts developing, putting his rooks in the center. This is a nice maneuver. The knight isn't doing, so the knight here, it's not really doing anything. This is a very smart maneuver. So you try to get it on the king side, where after we see c5, not only are you removing the knight out of the way to get it to a better square, but you're also preparing c3. So this is played, and now bishop h6. Okay, trying to attack, trading pieces, and now knight g3. So the point here is that this will come with a bit of strength thanks to this knight over here. An alternative here, a very interesting alternative, was d5. And after something like this, playing c4, of course, make use of tactics. This is a very nice idea, just closing off the queen side over here. No more play on the queen side, and the center is closed as well, so the only play will be on the king side, where white has superiority basically on the king side. White will be able to get his attack. By the way, this pawn cannot be taken because GG. So that was an alternative, but okay, he goes knight g3, b5, preparing some counterplay on the queen side. That's why the rook came to b8 anyway. Here there's this interesting move, e5, whereupon yeah, you just open up the center, and continuing with your plan, playing h4, later on h5. That's also a smart idea. Instead, queen g5 was played. This is a bit over optimistic, I would say. Yeah, there's probably something like f6, you go back, and I guess we just take. and black shouldn't be doing too badly here. Maybe he even has an advantage. Queen g5, by the way, e6 doesn't really work if you want to trade off queens, because we have this smart idea, check. Okay, you go back, and now what's the point? Well, you'll see the point. Here we're threatening mate, but what about this knight? It can't be taken, right? Not really. We have knight g5. The only way to prevent mate is what? Knight f6. So that's played, but now look at this. Brilliant. Rook e3. Threatening rook f3, rook takes f6, we remove the knight, and then queen takes h7 would be checkmate. But yeah, this probably won't happen. I doubt. I mean, e6 wasn't played anyway, but yeah, I doubt anyone played. So king h8, preempting all of this. And now white keeps going with the attack. I think this attack is a bit premature, because there's always taking here and taking like this, and I'm not really seeing how white's attack gets going anyway. He should have tried the h-pawn assault a la Lila. Going with this queen excursions, don't really agree with it. Okay, so rook g8, knight g5, rook g7. And now the question, how do you continue the attack? He thought d5 was the way forward. e5 may have been actually very interesting. The point is, after takes, d5. Just sidelining this knight. It doesn't have this square, it doesn't have this square because we just took. So a nice pawn sacrifice, get the knight to a7, play rook a d1. Or even you can continue with your plan and play h4. And this is a nice way to continue the attack. Instead, by playing d5, white just gave black this e5 square, which he duly made use of. And you can see that after f4, it seems like white is attacking, but look at these holes over here. Black will be making good use of them. Here I don't get why b takes a4 was not played. This will be very strong for for black. Instead, the passive knight f8 was played. It defends h7, of course, but I don't know, it just seems very passive. Anyway, so f5 here was tried. An alternative was just to take the pawn and then decide later what will happen. I offer some lines. I'm not really going to talk about them in much detail. Here you sacrifice a pawn, but get this beautiful knight to c4 and maybe to c6 even. Here even white would have an advantage. Here also knight takes b2, we play queen h4 and just get out of the way and start improving our position. Perhaps f5 at some f5 is a bit weak, maybe e5, something like that. Yeah, but the point is to not let the queen stay here for a long while. It might get trapped or just something bad will happen. But f5 was played here, trying to go for the attack, but after f6, the only alternative here is knight f5. Instead, I want to say something about Tarek. He's a very, very aggressive player, and I think this trait of his, it really worked against him in this game, because Masarani is a very solid player, by the way, so this is kind of a clash of styles. But here, yeah, this f6 idea, you really have to go back with the knight, no other option. Black is probably better, probably just like taking and take on b2, but yeah, you had to do that. Instead, he just sacrifices the knight, but yeah, this game is lost now. There's nothing to be done now. He tries this, but after rook takes g6, this knight on f8, okay, I said it was a passive move, and I was right if white followed up correctly. But now that white didn't follow up correctly, actually this knight is doing a tremendous job defending this square. And perhaps here he had calculated this, but this is just nothing. This is just a piece up for white, for black, and yeah, this is just losing. You have to trade queens basically here, because the queen is kind of trapped otherwise. Yeah, so here queen h5 was tried, and I'll just show you the game really quickly. It's just a piece up, and in a classical game, 2000 rated players, yeah, they're going to convert a piece up position for no compensation, even against some super GM, I would imagine. Yeah, this is white just resigns. Okay, so a bit of over-aggression by Tare, and he went for the wrong kind of attack. Let's take a look at Samer's game now. Or is there an easier game? Yeah, no, let's take a look at this. Okay, so in this game we see a transposition to the Caro-Kann Gurgenidze. So this is basically an invitation to go into the Caro-Kann Gurgenidze. Just a small discussion about the opening. This is the Caro-Kann-Gurgenidze proper, and in this position I like really playing e5, just following up with f4 and getting, you know, a nice position over here, I think. Instead, what white went for over here, g6, d4, bishop g7, c6, perhaps a way to kind of try to transpose back to that position is to play as such, and after this play this, and then you'd be kind of transposing to that position in the Caro-Kann-Gurgenidze. But instead, okay, he goes bishop e3, Samer. It's not a bad idea what he's doing. The setup he's employing, it's completely fine. I just have qualms about some things that happen later. Okay, takes, and knight d7, knight b d7, or knight d7, no knight b. Yeah, so knight f6 will be the follow-up. This kind of reminds one of the French Rubinstein. If you guys don't know that opening, just really quickly I'll show you the opening. Actually, I just got reminded of it now, so yeah, I thought I'd show you the opening. And now knight d7 is played with the intention to follow up with knight f6 and trade off one of black's knights. Yeah, so let's go back to the game continuation. So takes, and now knight d7, same idea over here. Bishop c4, aggression against this pawn. You can kind of see semblances to the Joe Assad game. Knight f6, and now that knight is traded, and he goes for knight e5. A bit over aggressive, I would say. Just castle, and if black castles, h3, again asking this bishop, where are you going, Mr. Bishop, as in the Tariq game against Maserani that we just saw. And here if the knight goes to d5, we go bishop d2, and we have this plan of playing queen e2, c3, and just, you know, going from there. It's a game. And bishop g5 is also an alternative to bishop d2. Instead he goes knight e5, which is really over optimistic. After castles, he goes like here. You could castle and just, you know, chill, and this is a fine position as well for white. I don't really like the knight being here because it's always, you know, open for knight d7 ideas, and it's not really doing much here. I guess tying up the rook, but yeah, okay, no, knight e5 is fine. I would prefer just keeping our flexibility open instead of knight e5 to play castles, but that's, again, different strokes for different folks. But here, knight e5, castles, and now he goes queen f3. This is very optimistic play. He wants to, I guess, play this kind of idea, g4, g5, just go haywire on the king side. And after bishop f5, he even goes for a crazier idea. I think just c3 here, keep everything solid. He goes for the even crazier castles. Now the problem with castles is that black's attack is going to be swarming and white's attack is non-existent. If I play queen d6, for example, how are you going to attack me? Are you going to play h4? I play h5, and you're never going to get g4 in. Or okay, you might be able to, but it will take a while. And in the meantime, I'm just going to start attacking you, and you're going to face some problems. If g4, for example, like g4, I think simply bishop e4 and we win this rook, right? Yeah, I would imagine. So yeah, it's just not really working. Long castles here, it's far too speculative. So yeah, that was played, bishop e4. I need to go a bit faster. I want to try to make this video 30 minutes. And yeah, here trades occur, and white is still kind of holding on, but you know, black wisely picks up this pawn. You might think, okay, this is dangerous, I'll get an open file for my rook, but white doesn't have enough firepower to attack black. And this pawn structure, it's very solid. You are missing the dark squared bishop, for example, but really, how is white going to attack you if he doesn't have one of his own? Yeah, so okay, I'll just go through this game quickly because yeah, this is a very, very nice move, trading off pieces, making use of the fork, not the fork, or the unprotected piece, of course. Yeah, this is just simply very nice way to trade off pieces. Knight f3, again a very nice move, trading off more pieces, and this rook endgame is easily winning. Mr. Habash does not take long to convert this. Rook d4, another nice move, by the way. And yeah, so here Samer just got too optimistic with the attack, I think. He should have developed first, of course, And yeah, queenside castling against these Gurgenidze structures, it basically doesn't work unless in specific lines. So no, actually I do play a line with queenside castling in the Gurgenidze, but this wasn't really a Gurgenidze proper, the way I play it with f4 and stuff. Anyway, which game should we look at? I guess Najjar. Yeah, Najjar was a short, not a short affair, but it was a quick one as well. It wasn't quick, but he got an advantage out for the opening, that's what I'm trying to say. Okay, so he goes for the close Sicilian Grand Prix basically, and knight ge7. Yeah, when you play this stuff, you know, the what happened here, I think bishop takes c6 is now you don't want to do this because you give up the bishop pair for no reason, but going back, I don't know, I'm not an expert on the Grand Prix, maybe both work, but anyway, knight d4 and now b3. Okay, so here what Mohammed Salman starts doing, it's very bad because he's neglecting his development, and that becomes a big issue. He plays b5 and he tries to fianchetto and leaves his knight here. So yeah, you're never going to castle. You need to castle ASAP. So one way to do that is to play g6, because this bishop really, if you put it here, it's not going to have much of a future. But if you put it here, it counteracts this bishop, and you put your knight here and you castle, and you know, white's attack also won't be very strong, because how is he going to get f5? You have two defenders. Well, I guess if you move the knight, you won't have this defender. You have over like how many defenders? I guess you'll move the bishop as well. So let's count like if we play knight c6 and bishop b7, we'll have this defender of the f5 square, and we'll have these two defenders of the f5 square. So 3 defenders of the f5 square. You can always do that as a sacrifice in the Grand Prix, but it's not really going to work. And yeah, white's attack will be stifled. So for example, this, and just castles, knight c6, b5, bishop b7. Black is doing tremendously well. This is too blitzy an opening, to be honest, but of course it'll work in classical, because you know Ahmed Najjar is 2200, so he can make it work. But yeah, Salman basically gave this game on a silver platter by not castling. So let's go on. So yeah, he keeps going on the queen side, and he even decides to open up the position when he is behind in development. He can't castle anytime soon, and yeah, this is a bad idea. So takes, knight takes, queen takes. There are many alternatives, of course, but let's just go through this. c4, and now queen c6. I'll mention some fun lines with taking here, queen h5, rook a e1, and yeah, white has a tremendous initiative now. For example, just f5 here. If castles, we take, and if the queen takes here, of course we have knight e5, and yeah, this is a piece up position for white. Just get the knight out of the way, and it's GG. So yeah, queen c6 instead was played because knight takes e2 check is not such a smart idea. And now rook f2, protecting against the mate threat. Do notice this is lined up against g2. So now this knight is free to move, or at least not move to e1. It's free to move elsewhere. So knight f5 was played, and now knight e5. I think d4 here was an improvement, just opening up the position ASAP. Bishop e7 can perhaps be played, and here we can play the pawn sacrifice with d5, e takes d5, and now queen b1, just attacking this knight, and g6 cannot be played, of course, because of taking. So yeah, this is a tremendously strong position for the white pieces. After d4 as well, we can consider taking, but this is just completely losing. Of course, you do, sorry, you do not take here because of bishop c5, but you just take, and this is a tremendous position for white. Even if you take here, for example, I'm going to take here, take, and yeah, where is castling? When is castling going to occur? Never. So knight e5 instead, making use of this rook, protecting g2, queen d6, getting the queen out of the way, and now bishop f3. Now there is this crazy bishop h5, which I don't think many humans will find this. The point, I'll just show you the point. This is all bishop h5 is the suggestion of the comp, obviously not mine. So g6, bishop f3, taking, and now this petite idea, threatening mate. So that's covered, and now this, and we pick up an exchange, because as you can notice we're attacking 2 pieces. So bishop h5, what else? I guess there's knight h6 to defend f7, but that is met by the crazy a4. What's the point of a4? You have to react to a4, and now here you play f5. So the point is just to open up some squares, because we're some files rather. So for example, we can open up this file in this case. E takes f5 and knight takes c4, and now we open up the e file, for example, in this case. Bishop takes g7, and that's not related to a4, but a4 gives us the c4 square for the knight, for example, in this example. And if a4 b4 for here, queen e2 instead, and again we get these open files, and there's never going to be any problem with queenside pressure. Just watch this line. I'm sorry, I'm not really explaining this, it's very complicated, but yeah, okay, I'll explain it a bit more. You sacrifice here, of course taking would lead to GGO, or even knight takes probably, yeah. But yeah, this, and now knight takes, you take here. I have discoveries, I guess, with check, or no need, just take back, and yeah, this is going to be a tragic position. So knight takes instead, gaining the piece, but now I have this, and when I take here, you have to take with the king. So this spin is kind of eternal. And bishop takes g7 is a threat, because after taking I have checkmate, and if I take bishop takes g7 and you take here, I have a check on your king. So yeah, this is very tied up for black. If they castle, they lose e7 as well, so yeah, this is just completely winning. All of this had to be seen after bishop h5, because g6 is very normal here, but after g6, as we saw, we have bishop f3 going back, attacking this undefended bishop, forcing it to take, and we get a lot of initiative with this combination. Yeah, but bishop h5 is very difficult to see, so I don't blame Mr. Najjar. He played bishop f3, taking. An alternative was queen c7. Silman was just too not optimistic, but too helpful for white here. He allows him free play. First he doesn't castle and plays on the queen side, and then here he allows the white to crash through with the queen. Queen takes f3, rook d8. I'll just show you the game really quickly. Najjar does a fine job. He stops him from castling basically. Again, queen b7, attacking f7, and that forces the 1f pawn, and no more castling for black. Here there was this alternative, by the way. This might have been a better idea, attacking here. Yeah, but he didn't see that. He played knight e3 instead, and now it's going to be difficult to win this, to draw this. This might seem like a fork, by the way, knight e3, but nope, because after rook h8 is what should have been played. But of course, if you take, I take with check, and your king has to move on the 8th rank, whereupon I would take this rook as well with check. So here the only alternative was to play rook hg8, and now after rook f2, for example, you have knight d5. I'll just show you this line to show that black is still surviving over here. He can take this pawn, or if instead queen c2, queen e1 is the right move, and then he'd take the pawn. But if instead queen c2, knight b4, and now you can see this is really dropping and the queen has to move, so this would be a fork. So yeah, it's not all said and done. Instead he plays queen d4, which is just transitioning into a completely losing position. Takes rook c7, and this is basically game over. King d6, I think this is checkmating, right? Takes. Yeah, this should lead to. I don't know if I'm missing anything, but yeah, if I'm missing anything quicker, but yeah, this is of course losing, so we have to go back here. And now he takes here, winning this pawn, and bishop e5. Now of course here you just take this rook and this pawn and just get your rooks on the 7th if the knight moves, and play this, and yeah, all of this is nice. Instead he goes for this idea, trying to go for the endgame. The point is, of course, Najjar trusts his endgame skills, but I'm not sure this endgame is completely winning. You're down 2 pawns, of course, but I don't know if this is, it should be completely winning, but I'm not 100% sure. Instead he goes rook e8, and you know, this is something I can be a bit critical about. If you go for this line, okay, you're 2 pawns down, he'll grind you down and everything. I should mention, by the way, that in last year's championship, Najjar was 2 pawns up against Mr. Salman in a rook endgame, and he did not convert it because he played really quickly and he did not convert it. So who knows, maybe this could have happened again. I don't know if that thought or reminisce crossed Salman's mind. But here, you know, the problem, and we're already at 30 minutes, by the way, so I need to speed up. So here the problem is that if you go like this, so 2 pawns down is the alternative, but here you're just going to completely lose. The 2 rooks will infiltrate on the 7th, and it's GG. No way you're going to survive this. Now here he had the opportunity to go rook c6, by the way, checking here and causing all kinds of nasties. But maybe he was afraid of some checks or counterplay or whatever, so instead he goes rook a1, just, you know, pushing the pawn, and that's very good as well. This is simply winning, and yeah, here actually black resigned. So yeah, in this game I think Salman was not really cognizant of quick development, so he let Najjar have a free hand. Okay, we have 2 more games, right? Yeah. So we have Mahmoud Abdelaziz against Antoine Assis. I'll go through this game quickly. There are some points that we want to go through. So this is kind of a Catalan. If we go d4 here, we transpose to the Catalan. But with b3, this is called like the Neo-Catalan or something. Yeah, so now it kind of morphs back into some weird Catalan. And now with queen c2, b6, and rook d1. I think an alternative is just to commit with e4, open up the position while you can, especially because black is a bit behind in development, while white is a bit ahead in development. Instead, rook d1, bishop a6. Black is trying to complete his development and just attacking this pawn. Bishop b2 was played. Now, of course, the idea here is you get a lot of play if this pawn is taken. But I would have preferred knight d2, just keeping solid this pawn and opening up for e4 and opening up this bishop. If b5, for example, we can play e4, and now we have control over the square. Instead, after bishop b2, b5 now, we can no longer play something like e4 because that would just be a pawn. For example, e4, takes, and this is just a pawn. You might think you have counterplay, but not really. So, yeah, this is a bit problematic. So, yeah, he should have played knight d2. And actually, I think there is a game in the database where the only game in the database to reach this position, white, instead of bishop b2, he played knight d2. The only game to reach this position. But instead bishop b2, and now we have a new game kind of, and b5, and now the thing is you have to play this, and after b4 you have a tough question to ask yourself: where are you going to put your knight? To answer this question, let's go to a game I found by sheer random chance in the title Tuesday or SCC Grand Prix that took place just yesterday. Today is Wednesday, yesterday was Tuesday, so yeah, let's go through this game. Kind of reminding you of something, it should be. Yep, exactly. And now, where does white go with the knight? Not to b1, but to a4. This might seem like a strange decision, and white, by the way, lost this game, but this position is completely fine for white. Might seem like a strange decision because this knight is never going to come back, but at some point you could make it come back if you really wanted to. You just move the bishop and move the knight. And it's doing a nice job controlling all of these squares on the queen side. So yeah, you can take a look at how the game proceeded on your own. Let me just go back to this game. And now here, unfortunately, Abdelaziz went for knight b1, which basically loses the game. Not loses, but this gives white a really passive and bad position. Instead, knight a4, and you control these squares. And yeah, the knight is kind of not doing anything here, but again, if you really are so concerned about it, you can do this. Instead, knight b1, and now black is starting to have fun. Knight e4. Alternatives include a3 and knight e1. Rook e1 seems like a bit of a strange move. I guess his point was to play knight d2 and have e2 protected due to this bishop, from this bishop. But yeah, f5, and he does play d2, and now rook e1 is protecting this. But you know, this rook just defending the pawn, this sounds and seems so weird. A way to liberate your forces was a3, and this was actually something that was played in the Sugirov game. He played a3 to liberate his forces. Anyway, the point here, for some reason, by the way, here, okay, the game basically ends. So after f5, liberate your forces with a3. So here, for some reason, Abdelaziz here lost a pawn. I don't know why. Here he just loses a pawn. Maybe he forgot about this bishop or did some move order issue. Here you can still retain your pawn if you take here, and after f takes, just take like this. Queen h5, this is going to be a very aggressive position for black. Black is still better. These pawns are not optimal, but at least you're not down a pawn. You have double pawns, but not down a pawn. D takes is of course an alternative, and still this position, I guess queen h5 all the same. And yeah, this is just bad for white. Here white, but yeah, it's bad but not losing. Here white is just losing. He loses a pawn, and yeah, Mr. Assis is 2200 and the current Lebanese champion, so he's defending his title. And yeah, let's just watch this conversion job. Very easy, he makes it seem. So yeah, perfect play later on by Assis. But yeah, so in this game, a small summary, I guess Abdelaziz, just his concern about putting the knight on a4 made him lose the game, and he also started playing a bit passively. Black was playing very enterprisingly, and this is somewhat of a problem when you play some slow systems like the Neo-Catalan. You just want to get the game and fianchetto both of your bishops and play chess. Sometimes if your opponent, like Assis is over aggressive and plays a5 and stuff like that, that can be a bit of a problem. Okay, so for our game, this really isn't the game of the day. By the way, this round saw no draws, if you guys noticed. This one also no draw, Akram won. Yeah, but really no game of the day. Some games stand out, but not out of those that stand out, no game stands out from those that stand out. Let's put it like that. Yeah, so this game saw a strange thing. This is the Reti Advance. You might have seen me play against Dr. 1000 like you or Akram, as he is known in real life. You might have seen me play this Reti Advanced, but after e3 taking, I do not play e5 because e5 just loses a pawn. I guess this is an over the board inspiration by Elias, but yeah, I don't know. You can just take the pawn. I asked Dr. 1000 like you why he didn't take the pawn, and he told me he saw some lines where black would get counterplay. I don't get the counterplay here. Just bishop d6, you go back. Okay, thank you for the pawn. And the thing is, white has nice development for the pawn, right? This reminds one of the Fromm's Gambit, if you guys are familiar with it, which is an opening I utterly do not believe in for black. Yeah, so this is the Fromm's Gambit. And yeah, why should black be better or even equal in this position? I don't understand. If you know a bit of theory in the Fromm's Gambit as white, you'll crush your opponent as black. It's just not doable. This opening not possible. Yeah, so I guess he was trying to make it seem like the Fromm's Gambit with the e5 and taking bishop d6, but yeah, this is nothing. Maybe queen h4 is also an idea, but here we just go knight f3 and all of this is protected. So I don't know. So he just goes for this and just wants to play a position. And after e4, I find it strange he didn't go knight g5 because this is basically winning a pawn. If your opponent goes here, you can play bishop e2 and you're going to take this. Bishop f5, I castle. Yeah, so I don't know. This also was a bit of a miss. Instead, he went d takes c6, going for this endgame, basically. And yeah, this endgame is of course better for white. These are tragic pawns, but yeah, he could have done better. Be a clear pawn up. Okay, he plays b3 as an alternative to bishop d3. The point after, for example, bishop f5, just play bishop e4, and after bishop e6 you play bishop d3 and follow up with the plan that was shown in the game. So in the game the same kind of thing happened but different move order. And now yeah, we're attacking g7, giving up, not really giving up h2 by the way. If you take here you're losing a bish. So yeah, an alternative was g6 though. It's just a better move because you really don't commit your king yet, because perhaps you might want to play king e7 and you don't go into these kind of ideas that happen in the game. So castles and now e4. What Dr. 1000 IQ wants to do is just get a fork going, and really actually the game ends soon enough because of that fork. f4, you're now preparing e5, and now knight d7 is played, and due to the following sequence of moves this loses a piece, which Dr. 1000 IQ found the following sequence of moves. The alternative was to get out of the fork and just attack, was knight h5, attacking the f4 pawn. e5 should be played to protect. Of course there's no rook f1 because bishop takes f1, so e5, bishop c5, and yeah, this kind of position white should of course be much better, but this isn't clear yet, the advantage. Instead knight d7 simply loses a piece because now this bishop has no squares. Let's see how that happens. We play rook g3, the bishop has to go here, and now e5. The point is that f5 is coming, and yeah, black just loses a piece. So very nice tactic, I thought. A bit difficult to see of course, so I don't blame Elias for missing this. And yeah, this is just a piece up, and let's watch the conversion job, which kind of gets dicey at some point. Like for example here, just take on c6, we're not really afraid of this, we go back. If takes here we can check and take here, and yeah, this pawn is promoting, so easy conversion job. He didn't want to go for these complications, so he just protected his last rank, but this kind of allows a tactic. I guess this could be seen as a further simplification that helps white, but you know, these pawns are kind of annoying. Of course it's good technique by white doing this, but I would have preferred to keep the rooks on the board and just push the pawn. Okay, b4 here was an alternative by the way, just trying to push. Instead he played king e3, and yeah, this is, even he makes it a bit, let's say, dangerous with this kind of stuff he's doing, but yeah, this result was never in question. Just sacks and goes for a winning king and pawn endgame, very easy. And yeah, this is an easy one. Apparently the game ended h5 king e7, which would still be winning of course because king g7 here. But apparently Dr. 1000 IQ did the proper technique, the proper bullet technique, which is to play king g7 and just push, because that's easier for a human to do. h5 is of course still winning, but not very human. Hey, Dr. 1000 IQ, it's not clear if he's a human or a robot, right? Yeah, so summing up this game, Elias again, this is a really, From's Gambit, yeah, don't play that in classical. Dr. 1000 IQ didn't even pick up the pawn and he won the game, because like the From's Gambit, if white wants to, he can pick up the pawn and hold on to it, and if he doesn't want to, he can just get another positional advantage and crush black. So yeah, yeah, so overall a very interesting round. I think today's clash will be there's a big clash. I thought is it Antoine against Najjar, because these are they're the two 2200s in the tournament, so I think it's today. Yeah, so let's see what will happen if it's today. And yeah, this was a very exciting round, a lot of overaggression, I guess this could be called. Yeah, that might be the title of the video. Yeah, so I hope you got something out of this video, guys. Take care.